City Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, could I please have your attention? Before the formal business commences this evening, please could I ask for your support with the following in the interests of the smooth running of these hybrid meetings. First of all, personal devices. To minimise interference with the microphone and camera system, please would elected members, officers, members of the public and the press in the council chamber set any personal devices not required for council business, such as phones and tablets, to aeroplane mode during the meeting, or switch off Wi-Fi on personal devices, but continue to use mobile data, whichever is most convenient for them. This will help reduce congestion on the local Wi-Fi channels and improve stability. Secondly, video feeds on council chamber devices. The live stream video will continue to run on the main council chamber devices. However, to reduce Wi-Fi strain and improve stability, please would elected members, officers, members of the public and the press in the council chamber switch off the camera function within Microsoft Teams on their own devices during the meeting. And finally, roll call procedure. To further reduce network traffic during the meetings, we will only call the roll in the event of a division. We will not call the roll for the purposes of the sederunt. Thank you. Convener.
Thank you, Mr. Minnie. So welcome to Neighbourhood, Housing and Communities. Arlene, if you could kick us off, please.
Thank you. Item 1, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations?
I don't see any declarations, thank you.
Item 2, tenders received by Head of Design and Property, and you have this for approval.
Okay, I've just introduced this positive report brought together with input from communities. So I will just open it up to questions if there are any. I do not see any, so is that approved? Thank you. That's the committee. Thank you.
Welcome to the City Governance Committee. Billy, please.
Thank you, Billy Soares. Firstly, are there any declarations of interest? Okay, thanks. There being no declarations, that then takes you on to item 2, multi-agency public protection arrangements, MAPA annual report. This is for noting.
So I believe Graham Binney is with us or online. So Graham, I don't know if you want to introduce this report, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Perfect, thank you. Thanks very much for the opportunity for introducing the MAPA report for 24-25. Firstly, thank you to Alan Small, who was the predecessor in the post that I now have as independent convener, and thanks to him for his commitment to public protection across Tayside. Managing the risks posed by individuals subject to MAPA is, as always, a complex task cutting across organisational boundaries, and the responsible authorities involved are Police Scotland, the local authorities, NHS and the Scottish Prison Service, who are all required to have MAPA arrangements in place to assist with the risk assessment and risk management of sexual offenders, restricted patients and certain violent offenders in the community. By legislation requires us to submit an annual report to the Scottish Government, and this report was submitted to them on the 27th of November 2025, produced by the MAPA Strategic Oversight Group, which works collaboratively across Angus, Perth and Dundee. Statistically, the danger to children and adults from people they do not know is extremely low, and reoffending is very low. High-profile cases are rare because there's strong multi-agency arrangements in place. I just want to take 30 seconds just to give a richer picture about the data in the report, which describes, as of March 2025, 443 registered sex offenders managed in the community in Tayside. This was an 8% increase on the previous year across Tayside, and there was a similar 7% increase in Dundee from the previous year. And whilst that might seem high, I wanted to give some reassurance that figures over a 10-year period are much lower. Across Scotland, we've got a rise of just over 3%, Tayside lower about just over 2%, and Dundee again lower again at just over 1%. But that said, we are mindful of the potential for increased demand in this area due to increases in historic reporting, online offending and legislative changes. We, looking forward, just in conclusion, we are the strategic group of MAPAs undergoing a redesign of its strategic plan for 26-29. And amongst some of our considerations and challenges will be to support authorities across Tayside to prepare for the launch of the multi-agency public protection systems known as MAPS, which will replace existing visor systems across the UK. We want to enhance our learning and development by assessing recommendations from national learning reviews, supporting appropriate quality assurance programmes, and where possible sharing training and scrutiny activity with other public protection functions. We need to enhance our current data to provide assurance to chief officers, looking at trends such as changes in index offending and the age demographic of our offenders, allowing the identification of emerging risks. And lastly, focus on engagement both inside our circle to align MAPA professionals with other public protection areas, but also outside the circle by increasing public acceptance, understanding and confidence in our work. And finally, my thanks to Glenn Lloyd and others for allowing me a smooth transition into this post. Thanks to Elaine Mackey, the MAPA coordinator, for continued commitment to MAPA across Tayside, and most importantly, to all those staff working across public services in Tayside to keep our communities safe. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments, Graham, and your work over the past year. I'm not seeing any comments or questions from members, so I'm taking it this report's agreed. Okay.
Thanks, Convener. Takes you on to item 3, Community Justice Annual Activity Report, Community Payback Order Annual Report, and you're asked to agree the recommendations.
So this report provides an annual update on community justice activities and payback orders for the past year. The report highlights how the Community Justice Partnerships activity continues to increase the number of referrals from the Crown Office, Procurator Fiscal Service to diversion from prosecution schemes, increasing to 185 compared to 164 in the previous year, recording a higher proportion starting and successfully completing the schemes. Number of community payback orders imposed rose to 570 from 553 in the previous year, with unpaid work hours increasing to just under 50,000. Support was provided to 126 short-term prisoners on release. Councillor Short.
Thank you very much, Convener. I'd just like it noted, please, how much I appreciate the work of the team and those who work with the team. I don't think it's any secret that they help support me within the neighbourhood, applying lovely paint to the railings at Park Avenue and removing the planters that had been there for a long time and had definitely seen better days. And it's amazing. It was very time intensive, and we're still waiting on the other side of the street for the railings. However, the feeling of people in Park Avenue is that they open their doors into a much better neighbourhood because of the input from the team. And just This week, I had spoken to the team about doing some work at the pathway that connects at the port, which is now the council pathway, and it can get really messy, and they go down and have a wee look now again and make it look a lot better for everybody making use of that path. So often we don't know or see or understand what they're doing, but I would say that community-wise, the effort that's put in really does make a difference, and the work that the teams do with it. And coincidentally, tomorrow I'm actually speaking to COSLA about things that we can do to even push it further, because they're looking at it from a nationwide point of view. So thank you for the innovation that Dundee comes up with, and hopefully everybody will be thinking a bit outside the box as well. Thank you.
Thank you for these comments, Councillor Short. I can't see any other indications for members, so I'm taking that as approval.
Okay, thank you. Takes you on to item 4, capital expenditure monitoring, which is for noting.
Showing the latest position regarding the council's capital plan. Councillor Coleman, please.
Thank you. On page 73, we are advised of a significant reduction in the neighbourhood capital fund expenditure this financial year, and some 325,000 being carried over to 26-27. Can I ask if officers could please circulate the detail of which projects are going ahead this financial year and which are being delayed, and the target completion dates for those delayed, please?
I'm sure that can be done. Oh.
Thanks, Councillor Coleman, for the question. Just to confirm, I'm happy to circulate that information around all elected members.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, is this item agreed? Okay, moving on, please.
Okay, thanks. Item 5 then is revenue monitoring, which is also for noting.
Again, the latest analysis of the projected revenue outturn, impacting council's overall revenue budget position. Councillor Crichton, please.
Thank you, Convener. The report indicates the projected general fund overspend was 4.5 million, but this report only covers the first 6 months of the year. Given that officers have advised that they are taking various actions to reduce the projected overspend through the financial recovery plan explained in paragraph 3.7, can the Chief Executive or the Director of Corporate Services give committee some indication as to where the projected general fund overspend now sits, please?
Paul, please.
Thanks, Councillor Crichton, for the question. So I can confirm the information reflects the position as at the end of October. Officers are currently working through an estimate at the following month. I can confirm that it is similar, and will issue the detail in respect of that estimate to all elected members in due course.
Councillor Crichton, you happy with that?
Yeah, I'll have that, Convener. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Not seeing any other indications, so I'm taking approval for that.
Okay, thanks, Convener. Item 6 then is housing revenue budget and review of rents and other housing charges, which you're asked to give the recommendations.
So this report advises the committee of the outcome of the rent consultation exercise in order to approve the HRA revenue budget, rent and other housing charges for the forthcoming financial year. Proposed that the rent is increased by 8%. Proposal is in line with the majority view expressed by tenants through the rent consultation exercise. Bailey McPherson, please.
Thanks, Convener. A couple of comments, first of all. I think we all accept, and I think Councillor McHugh made the very point last year, that there maybe is a degree of credibility issue around the consultation, where 3 very similar, really within 0.25% offers are given, and every year the tenants unsurprisingly choose the lowest. And I think maybe some thinking about redesigning the consultation in future years would perhaps enhance its credibility. I think we would all equally accept that this is a significantly larger increase than many years. And clearly, I'm sure officers are giving every thought to trying to bear down on costs to ensure that we don't have increases of this level each and every year going forward. My question to officers is really around the information in paragraph 6, and it's about the hardship fund, discretionary housing payments and benefits. Now, it strikes me as obvious that given the level of the increase this year, there is the potential for more tenants who are currently not in receipt of either housing benefit for older tenants and for non-pensioner tenants housing costs through universal credit. More people being able to qualify who are tenants who currently do not qualify. And I would be grateful if officers could give some indication as to whether or not they're going to be writing out to tenants who are currently on full rent, to see, to invite them to apply. That could perhaps go out with rent increase notices, but I would just be really quite keen that we make maximum effort, given the level of the increase this year, to ensure that as many tenants as possible who would qualify do actually apply.
Okay, thanks for that question. Louise, is that one for yourself, please?
Yep, thank you for the question, Bailey McPherson. So I can confirm that within the rent notifications that we issue out, that we include information for tenants in terms of how they can apply for benefits or where they can get advice from colleagues in advice services. I would also reflect on the consultation where we actually asked this year if tenants required any support with their rent or housing costs. And what we're now doing is proactively reaching out to those tenants who highlighted that they would require that support or those that would require further information.
Bailey McPherson, you happy with that?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'm not seeing Councillor Short.
Sorry, convener, I just sneaked in there at the very end. Thank you, Louise, for confirming that. And I thought it was really interesting when I was speaking to the members of the DFTA that they were under the impression that the only way that you could have support through the fund was if you had a spare bedroom, effectively the bedroom tax. And of course, probably keen to point out that it can be for any reason that hardship fund's there, and it isn't just the bedroom tax that covers. And I think that's probably something that that Louise has picked up and is working with people in the benefits team as well, because it's one of those myths that hopefully can be busted. Thank you.
Okay, so Short, thanks for these comments. Bailey Keenan, please.
I notice on the impact assessment there seems to be quite a number of areas that are unknown, like how it would affect income, how people on benefits would be affected. What measures are we going to take in future years so as we would have a better understanding if we're ever putting the rent increase up by 8% again, that we know that it's going to affect people, because I'm sure it will, that we've not just got an unknown as an answer to an impact assessment.
Louise?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Bailey Keenan. In terms of the impact assessment that was carried out, I think what I would clarify is that the not known classification in the areas that you've picked up doesn't mean that we're lacking awareness around the pressure facing our tenants. Rather, it reflects the limitations in quantifying the specific and individual effect of the proposed increase within the demographic groups. But in terms of the contextual evidence that we considered throughout the development of the IIA, what we did reflect on is a lot of the information that is set out within the report, particularly within section 6, in terms of not only the reference pressures, but also the mitigations and the budgeted resources to support and the impact around that. So that considered the financial strain on households, the cumulative burden around the costs associated, but also the need for mitigations and the investment within the housing stock, in addition to the hardship fund, the outreach services that we've got working with colleagues in advice services, discretionary housing payment and the wider support from tenancy and estates. The reflection obviously is that contextual information could be more transparent within the IIA, and is something that we've noted and will ensure is clear in future iterations of impact assessments.
Billy Roberts, please.
In previous questionnaires, if somebody made a comment, it was put in the papers. Did any people make comment this year? I know that people have said to me that they're not getting £8 or £9 a week extra in their pay packet, so why are we taking that for rent?
Okay, Louise.
Thank you, Bailey Roberts. So there were open text boxes for tenants to respond. In summary, some of the common themes that we identified was a mix in terms of positive and negative. So we've seen tenants reflect on their appreciation for the response from frontline staff and the work around repairs. In saying that, there were also comments related around concerns for repair timescales. There was support from tenants around continued investment in energy efficiency and property upgrades. There was a view from some in terms of the comments around rent increases, and particularly this year, the impact around the 8% and the affordability. So there was quite a broad collection of comments that officers are reviewing, and where tenants have requested specific contact, then officers will do so.
Billy Roberts,
Thank
you happy
you.
with? Okay, thanks. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, convener. I notice at point 6.5, you talk about the issue of people migrating onto universal credit. And I recently met with the CAB, who said there was almost a technical glitch in the system, that some people were moving to universal credit, but the housing element wasn't being picked up, and that was causing them to inadvertently have rent arrears. I just wondered if that was something that our teams were paying attention to and picking up, and making sure that we're not allowing that to happen.
Anthony.
And thanks, Councillor Anderson, for the question. So I can say we're definitely aware of it, and then our teams are working. I can't say that we can stop it from happening, because it's about the data protection and sharing between those two organisations, and then sharing that information with us.
Just checking that there is awareness of the issue. So
Okay, I'm seeing no further questions, so I'm assuming approval for that report, please. Moving on.
Okay, thank you. Item 7 then before you is community asset transfer of Midland Daycare Centre, which is for approval.
So this report seeks approval for the disposal as a community asset transfer of Midland Daycare Centre located at 59 Carroll Drive to Midland Daycare Limited. Midland Daycare provides activities promoting daily living skills to adults and older people with mental or physical disabilities or those who face social isolation. It's not for profit organisation and have been operating in the building since 2003. Their long-term goal is to demolish the existing building and develop a purpose-built facility. Till capital funding for a new building has been secured, Midland Day Centre will continue to operate from the existing building. Councillor Mills.
Thank you, convener. In my capacity as older person spokesperson, I went and volunteered at Midland, and it was great to see all the great work that they're doing, and the stalwart that is Joyce, who's managed to get this moving. I suppose my question for the community side of the team is, now that this is the stepping stone towards the project, what support will Dundee City Council give them in moving forward to secure their bigger ambition?
Thanks for that. Tony?
Thanks, convener. Thanks, Councillor Mills. I can confirm that our communities team will continue to work with the group going forward. Thanks.
Okay, I'm seeing no further indications, so I'm taking approval for item 7.
Yes, Thanks, Convener. That then takes you on to item 8, family empowerment and what matters to you update. You're asked to give the recommendations.
So this report presents the progress and achievements of Dundee City Council's partnership with What Matters to You and seeks endorsement for scaling up of the family empowerment work in Dundee. What Matters to You is a community-based, voice-led systems change initiative working with families and practitioners to transform services for children and families. Partnership is fully funded by the Hunter Foundation and BBC Children in Need. Over £1 million invested by June. Councillor Coleman, you're first, please.
Thank you. I welcome the input and involvement of What Matters to You, and certainly the cafe conversation method of approaching LCPP meetings has definitely been a positive development. Given the work of the What Matters to You partnership with Dundee City Council is scheduled to complete in June 26, how will LCPPs then be supported to ensure that any momentum built up is not lost?
Louise, is that one for you, please?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Coleman. So you'll be aware that the communities officers are working hand in hand with What Matters to You. A lot of learning and a lot of practice that they're supporting in terms of the implementation. And really what that's doing is the capacity building with our officers to make sure that we can mainstream this approach beyond summer this year.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, thank you, Vina. I think before I make my other comments, I think it's important to reflect on 5.14, which talks about how at the recent COSLA Awards, the team, along with What Matters to You, were awarded the COSLA Excellence Award. And I think as a committee, we should congratulate officers and the team for that success. And I know it was one that was well deserved. Previously, also, when this used to come to my committee, I reflected on before having gone out and seen a lot of this work in practice, the impact it has for families is really impressive. And I certainly noted, and unfortunately it's not in the report, but certainly in the press release that went out, there was a number of contributions from members of the community who had benefit from this. So I think it's really important that we reflect a lot of the good work that's gone on so far and congratulate What Matters to You and officers. But I think what's really important, and Councillor Coleman reflected on it in his question, but in 6.3, we're talking about how voice-led family empowerment work will be mainstreamed and embedded. And I think that's really important that we do continue that work. I think what's happened so far has been absolutely impressive and has made a huge difference to families right across the city. I think it is really important that work is mainstreamed and embedded. And I look forward to seeing it continuing and coming back at future date.
Thank you for these very positive comments. Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to welcome the report and this method of working and really congratulate the community development staff for all the work they're doing behind the scenes to make sure that this becomes the way we do things around here. It's absolutely vital, especially when our communities are facing a lot of polarisation and misinformation, that we've got people on the ground doing solid work within communities to help them be resilient. So just really to congratulate everybody involved in the work they've been doing.
Thank you for these positive comments. Not seeing any other indications, so I'll take that as approval.
That takes you on to the remaining item, item 9, committee meetings, times, consultation. This is for noting and further instruction.
So the report updates the committee on the results of a consultation about changing the timing of committee meetings, which are, as we all know, currently held at 5 p.m. on Mondays. Consultation considered moving meetings to other weekdays and daytime hours. It was open to elected members, external members of the Children, Families and Communities Committee and the wider public. I know we have a motion from the administration group, and we seem to have an amendment from Beulah McPherson. So perhaps if we could have these circulated. Beulah McPherson, I take it you're okay with that?
Convener, move an amendment as well. I'll just move it.
Okay. Do you have someone that can be circulated or? Okay. So if we could maybe have the administration group and Beulah McPherson's motion and amendment circulated, and Everybody wants to speak on this one. So if I could call on Deputy Lord Provost El Naklat to move the administration group motion, please.
One should have the motion in front of them and the proposal that we would bring forward meetings on a Tuesday afternoon at the next cycle in the next term. I'm just going to move my laptop so I can. Yeah, I think it's really important, first of all, to note that out of 32 local authorities in Scotland, we are one of 3 who still has evening meetings. The direction of travel across the country has been towards daytime meetings for a long time now, and that is due to important issues of equality, well-being and modern employment practices. Right now, Dundee is sitting as an outlier. From the consultation which we've all had and chance to read and look over, at present around 64% of elected members do not have any caring responsibilities. That is also visible and clear that the chamber remains male dominated. That context matters. Context is important because decisions about meeting times are not equal. That is not how equality works. They're not neutral. Consultation reflects who currently finds it easier to participate. That is not the point of equality. Rather, it should be allowed who can and participate and isn't given the opportunity. Evening meetings are often defended on the grounds that they suit people with other jobs, and I completely understand that argument, hence the proposal that this would not be implemented until the next term. I respect my colleagues who managed to balance council duties with external employment, but I also need to be brutally honest about 2 things. Being a councillor is a paid job. It's your work. We receive remuneration because this role involves great responsibility, accountability, and a significant time commitment. Now, I know we would not expect any other paid profession that we work with, represent, or bring to the chamber demanding employment rights that are fair and just and that don't discriminate. So therefore, why are we still making decisions late into the evening as a standard practice, following on from already a full workday? While working people deserve consideration, having another job is not a protected characteristic in law. Gender, caring responsibilities, disability and age all are protected. And that is who's disproportionately disadvantaged by evening meetings. They affect mostly parents with childcare responsibility, people caring for elderly or disabled relatives, and women who continue to carry the majority of unpaid care and who are also the lowest paid, carry the responsibility of lowest paid jobs within society. There's also a wellbeing issue that we can't ignore. Current arrangements, we ask councillors and council officers to possibly start their days early morning and not finish until very late in the evening. This could be an 8 AM to 9 PM day. That is a working day that would be considered unacceptable in many other workplaces. I am nearly coming to an end, but we should be honest about the culture this reflects. This is built on a model where men finished their jobs, their real jobs, 9 to 5, and then came to play politics and exercise power in the evening. That is archaic. It belongs to a different era where caring responsibilities were invisible and weren't the responsibility of men that have sat in this chamber. Women were excluded from decision making and power was structured around those with the fewest competing demands. If we're serious about widening participation, which we all should be and every political party should be, we must ask ourselves, who are our systems designed to serve? Are they designed for the Dundee of today or of the Dundee of yesterday, of decades past? It's not about dismissing challenges faced by colleagues with other employment, I promise you that, but no system will suit everyone. People hate change, so I understand the pushback, but when trade-offs exist, we should prioritise inclusion, equality and fair working practices, particularly for those protected in law. Daytime committee meetings are not radical. They are a reasonable, proportionate step towards a fairer, healthier and more representative council. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments. Councillor Rome, second, please.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'll be fairly brief, as my colleague Councillor Nathan has already made a number of excellent points in favour of this motion. I just want to build upon these points, which touches on childcare and those with disabilities. Now, as we see from the papers, we only had 58 respondents of a city of 150,000 people. And I think this sends a very clear message that this is not something that resonates with people. And I think that should concern all of us. And I think, as my colleague has said, as we look to the future, we should be looking to encourage as many people as possible to participate in politics and in political debate. And frankly, having evening meetings is extremely non-conducive to that. If you have a caring responsibility, you will very much struggle to get childcare after 6 o'clock at night. And if you're a single parent or those that can't have access to childcare, that's going to put you off straight away to taking part in a political process. So that's one factor. Also, in terms of disabilities, whether you have care and responsibilities of children or indeed an adult that you're looking after, this is extremely difficult to get around. But if you have a physical disability yourself, you have an extremely long working day. You're expected to come to a meeting that starts at 5 o'clock at night, might not finish till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So essentially, we're disenfranchising a large group of people, where actually what we should be doing is looking to encourage as many people as possible to take part in politics and political debate and the democratic process. So for these reasons, I would ask you to support the motion. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments. Billy McPherson, you have an amendment, I believe.
I do indeed have an amendment. Perhaps it could be put on the screen. I know it's been circulated. I would simply make the point that what's the point in having a consultation if you then just completely ignore the results? Because that's exactly what's happened here. And I fully accept that the response rate was low, but that's more of an indication as to how well the council itself promoted it. The bottom line is this has got nothing to do with gender. This has got to do with the fact that for a huge number of people who have 9-to-5 jobs across the city, this effectively means that they are effectively cut out of being in a position to stand for election. I remember I had a ward colleague, former member of the council, who worked for a large organisation who, frankly, to get to anything during the day, had to fill out forms in triplicate and was very often simply missing up, for example, site visits that the other 3 elected members in the ward were able to attend. So I think the suggestion that it's fairer in some way to cut huge numbers of people who are in full-time employment out of being able to stand is not fair at all. And I don't think, as I say, there's a gender aspect to this at all. This affects both male and female employees. Now, I note that the administration is suggesting only changing this from the start of the next term. It makes a nonsense of the whole thing, because the incoming administration might just decide to change it all anyway. Lastly, I would make the point that the point was made about council officers having an extremely long day. Well, work patterns can be altered to reflect the fact that they are attending council meetings at 5 o'clock at night. I don't think that's overly onerous for a chief officer of the council to be doing, but I think I make the point again that work patterns can be altered to accommodate that, so they're not working from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8:30 at night. So I just negates that point completely. So our amendment suggests no change in the committee meeting times. And as I say, in reality, it will be for the incoming administration in May 2027 to determine when meetings actually take place. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you for these comments. Councillor Duncan to second you.
Yep, thanks, Convener. Yep, I've listened to the what's been said in favour of the motion, and I would just like reinforce what Billy McPherson has said, that it's not a gender thing. I know a great many women who frankly have demanding daytime jobs, so I find it really quite surprising in this day and age to have people comment otherwise. I also take great exception to members of the administration, and I hope that other people on this committee might also take great exception to what phrases like playing at politics being bandied around. I certainly think that somebody's been playing at politics this evening, and it's not me, and I take great exception to that. This is trying to move the goalposts. It is not about inclusion, not at all. You know, I have, throughout my life, had many jobs, and evening meetings for politics are about accommodating people who have responsibilities, be it work or caring, etc., during the day, enabling as many people as possible to get involved in the evening. And that the motion, if it were carried, and as Bailey McPherson rightly says, it could very well just get swept away when the next administration arrives. So this has got nothing to do with equality, absolutely not, and I will certainly not be supporting it.
Okay, thanks for these comments. Councillor Short.
Thank you, convener. Not about equality yet, and this might dissuade everybody, but I would have been here at least one session earlier and had an extra 5 years if I had stood for election and been a councillor 5 years previously to when I was. But at the time, my son was 9 years old. I have and always will be a single parent, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave him at the house at 9 years old in the evening on his own. Which then brings me directly to something that we talk about a lot in the council, and often it's council officers that speak to us about lived experience. And lived experience of a single parent within the city, I think, is something that is very relevant. I have been at meetings when I have been quite emotional about some changes that have happened that would have a huge impact on women in this city. And I've been able to use my experience, which I'd learned through that time of being a single parent. Now, I'm only one voice. I know there's other women who are single parents here. And to say it's not a gendered thing, I think is a little bit shocking, because I, this evening, don't have my lift here, so I'll leave this building and will be walking through the city centre home. And is that a safe thing? Yes, because I feel comfortable walking through my city, but not everybody has my fortitude or my blooming mindedness, for better words. So to say it's not a gendered thing is very easy when you're sitting at home, when the rest of us are in a building taking our right to have a voice in this city. Thank you, convener.
Thank you, Councillor Short. Councillor Crichton, please.
Well, that was very interesting, and I'm more than happy to pick up from where we've just left off. This is accessible, this is inclusive, having it on Teams, any member can join and raise their voice. So that's first and foremost, and certainly don't lecture me on playing politics. I think this is what suits certain councillors at certain different times of the day. 5 o'clock is a good compromise. I just finished my day job, and I think we've got to include more people from outside this political bubble who work for MSP. Now, I'm not degrading people that do. My own twin sister does work for a parliamentarian, so I do honour that profession. But many people work for a parliamentarian, then play the politics when they want. Real jobs, 9 to 5, maybe in the evenings, but we have teams, we have etc. And we want to encourage as many people as possible. So this committee used to be later. This 5 p.m. was a compromise. Tonight, I was a few minutes late because of my job. And it's not, but I heard Councillor Short say, I. This is not about me. This is about including as many people as possible. And how we include as many people as possible is having that dialogue instead of springing something at committee, which is in someone's head saying, this is what suits me, what suits everyone, and what suits democracy. And in terms of this democracy and how this benefits women, I just think it is ridiculous to even say such a thing tonight. But I think some of the arguments we heard tonight is it benefits officers. I think our officers are fantastic. But as Councillor Bailey McPherson did say, days can change times, and also a lot of people around this table, as Councillor Naka said, get paid. Yes, they get paid to commit to a role. And throughout the day, I'm on the phone to my constituents. I want to be dealing with casework. And then we'll deal with these committees at night time, remotely or unremotely. So there's so many things I could go through and tear into about the way this has been conducted. I think it's disgraceful in terms of bringing this at committee tonight when we could have had an upfront dialogue between the various groups. And also some of the statements tonight about what this is really about, I think are shocking. And I think what we need to do as groups and as councillors is to get as many people as possible involved in our committees, which is getting the groups together and saying what benefits all. And 5 o'clock, in my view, if you look at the councillors, Councillor Nicola, I'll finish on this, convener, because I know a few people want to come in, but Councillor Nicola said that more people might get involved if it's during the day. I look at the viewership on our YouTube. If you look at the viewership on Edinburgh City Council, proportionally, it's not greater, and it's during the day. So this argument that people will spring out the woodwork, it's on us all to encourage more women, people from disability, etc. backgrounds to get involved in politics. But changing the goalposts, in my view, is about people's preferences and what suits people's livelihoods rather than the whole committee as a whole. And I think it's quite frankly disgraceful. Thank you, Convener.
Okay, I'm not sure how proposing a change after the next election is changing goalposts, but there you go. Councillor Coleman, please.
Thank you. There's been a lot of discussion about who could attend what in the chamber, and if we were to be elected in the future, or if we would have been elected in the past, if they elected us. But I think there's been a big thing forgotten yet. It's members of the public who can attend our meetings, and the vast majority of people work through the day. If they wish to attend our meetings and have a deputation, as they have very eloquently on many occasions, the best time for them to do that will be in the evening, and at 5 o'clock after work hours. So I fail to see how it will benefit the people we represent if we are going to restrict their ability to come along, and if they wish to present any presentation to us via deputation. There'll be people requiring to attend medical appointments or other appointments through the day who will no longer be able to do that if these committee meetings are now moved forward into the day after the next election. And I think that will probably restrict the number of people who may think about standing at the election. They may think, I won't be able to commit to that through the day. And that will be very disappointing. And to my mind, the consultation is quite clear that most people do wish to remain at 5 p.m. meetings. If we have a consultation, we wish to abide by the outcome of that and see what after speaking to the public. And really, I have had care and responsibilities at some point in my life, not at the moment, but do people not have care and responsibility in the day? Of course we do. Childcare in the day. If they're not school age, of course they do. So really, that this will make it absolutely perfect is not true. It isn't. There's no perfect time to have meetings, but in my mind, the current setup works quite well and should be retained. I'm not really particularly interested in what everyone else does. I'm interested in what we do for the citizens of Dundee who elected us, and that's what we should be here to discuss.
Okay, thanks for that. Bailey Roberts, please.
Just listening to Daniel there, I totally agree with him. Hospital appointments, when you've got caring aspect that you've got to go to hospitals or you're ill and you have to go yourself. All these appointments are during the day. They are not at night. You do not get to pick and choose what time your appointments are at. They could be at 4 o'clock. They could be at 4:30. They could be at 6 o'clock. You do not have an option. You have to attend. So getting away from work is okay if it's an appointment for your health, but getting away from work to attend a council meeting doesn't always work. I've heard a lot of people saying that they can't attend during the day because their employer will not allow them, or they think that they've had too many appointments to do with the council during their working week, so they won't allow it. So I'm with Fraser. I don't think it'd be a good idea to change it. Maybe different administration next time they can make a change to it. But no, if you hold a consultation, you should actually abide by it.
Okay, thanks. Can I just clarify that what is being moved by the Deputy Lord Provost is to change after the next election? It's not changing next week or even fortnight's time or a month's time. It's after the next election. Bailey Keenan.
Just to say that I'll forget my motion because I'll accept that the Lib Dems is effectively delivering that through no change. Obviously, listening to people today and hearing that, you know, being that single parent affected them greatly. Well, I was a single parent. You know, it's no a gift just to women. Men can be left bringing up kids as well. I think my kids made a reasonable job of bringing me up. But people will judge them on that. However, I always reflect back on people years ago saying to me that the only person that could ever be a councillor was the person that owned their own business in Dundee, because they could afford to take the time off during the day or even in the evening to come along and represent people. And it was only over a long period of time we managed to get people to get elected, ordinary individuals that brought with it that work experience, that bit for the factory, that bit that affected people's lives greatly, and not just the sort of somewhat, let's be a career politician, because I think this is a fantastic wage now that we've got. So, you know, it's really disappointing. It's really disappointing as well that we're a cash-strapped council, and here we are having an officer producing a 20-odd page report to frankly ignore it. That's just ridiculous. I mean, the SNP should be ashamed of themselves for bringing it forward. You know, this is officers' time getting absolutely wasted by the point of view of having a consultation, producing a 20-odd page report when you can't get an answer on many other things that they should be spending working time on. And that's really no good enough. This is just a frankly wasted time for the administration, a waste of cash having officers doing it. You could have moved that a long time ago instead of going through the consultation process. So I'm completely against the change. So I will be voting against this. I hope you would change your mind.
Okay, thank you very much for these comments, Bailey Keenan. We'll move to Councillor Hunter, and he'll be the last speaker before the Deputy Lord Provost sums up.
Okay, thank you, Convener. I was just reflecting on something that Councillor Crichton said about how many of us work for parliamentarians, and I do. And I'm very fortunate that I have an employer who allows me time off anytime I want to attend council meetings. And I appreciate that. I'm very fortunate to do that. I also appreciate that I'm very fortunate that when both my children were younger, my wife spent a lot of time doing the childcare, as did friends, to ensure that I could attend meetings. That's not the case for everybody. And I think that's something we perhaps should be reflecting on. I think white men telling people what we should be doing is maybe not always a good look, especially to the people other in the city who are trying to encourage to get into politics. I've spent a lot of time in politics trying to encourage younger people, females, people with disabilities to get into politics, and often we find meeting times and etc. is a difficult time for them to get involved. And whatever side of this debate you sit on, I think we should all be trying to do what we can to encourage as many people to get involved in local politics as we possibly can. And if making this change, not now, but at the next election helps that, then I think that's something that we should be doing. I appreciate that moving to a daytime does not suit everybody. Having an evenings doesn't suit everybody, but I think we should be trying to do everything we can to encourage as many people to get involved in politics as we possibly can. If this potentially helps, then I think that's something that we should be doing. So for that reason, I'll be supporting the Deputy Lord Provost.
Thanks for those comments. Deputy Lord Provost, wish to sum up?
Yes, I would, thank you. I don't think it's disgraceful to bring forward a topic of changing committee times. I think to attack myself for bringing it forward is disgraceful in itself. I will not be told by the Liberal Democrat group that have not one female representation in your group that you can tell me that this is not a gendered issue. Childcare, caring responsibilities fall predominantly on women. That is a fact. Elect her, United Nations for Women. Read. Do not come and tell me just from the top of your head that something is not true, which is based on nothing. So how about you get some female representation, and then maybe there'll be some more power behind your words. Not getting to meetings, how do you all get to appointments in your full-time job, right? This 9 to 5, how do you get to any appointments in your 9 to 5 job right now? Well, you request it and you go to your appointments. We are an outlier. How do 29 other authorities in Scotland do it? So please don't give me excuses as why you don't want change. Fair enough, talk from your point of view, which I actually didn't. The day that I got elected, I cried because I realised, how the hell am I going to do this? because I have young children and I am being told that I have meetings on every single day, at every single night. I have meetings in my diary at 9 a.m. I have meetings in my diary at 7 p.m. I've been told bring your kids with you to 7 p.m. meetings. I've been told it doesn't matter if you don't have childcare because you can just do it online. These are not acceptable in 2026. It's about trying to bring the council to a modern place where we can be accessible to most people. Now, you have a full-time job, well done. But when I got elected, I gave up my second job because it was impossible for me to have 2 jobs and to raise my children. And to have childcare out with 9 to 5 is impossible. To get respite for your elderly parents out with 9 till 6, impossible practically. So don't tell me that barriers do not exist. Barriers exist. Either you're willing to remove them at the sacrifice of yourself, to be honest. It might be an inconvenience for you. You might need to go from 35 hours to 30 hours of your work to accommodate your £25,000 job that you have, or £2,000 job, whatever it is the average councillor you are getting, depends if you've got a convenership, etc. But you're not willing to cut your hours by 5 hours, 6 hours for your wage. That's your decision. But don't tell me that's not disgraceful, that I'm disgraceful, that your choice of your wage in your pocket is important to you. That's fine. I told you I respect that. I absolutely respect my colleagues' decisions, but you should not undermine me with things that aren't true, without facts, without thought, just based on your own opinion, and tell me that I'm the one that's playing politics, because I'm willing to sacrifice what is good for me to the betterment of my city.
Thanks for these comments, and we'll go to the vote, please, Willie.
Thanks, convener. The motion by Deputy Lord Provost O'Nacla, seconded by Councillor Rome, is as circulated. The amendment by Bailey McPherson, seconded by Councillor Duncan, is also as circulated. Bailey Soares.
Motion.
Councillor Anderson.
Motion.
Councillor Black.
Motion.
Lord Provost Campbell. Councillor Cadell.
Motion.
Bailey Dawson.
The motion.
Deputy Lord Provost O'Nacla.
Motion.
Councillor Hunter.
Motion.
Councillor Lynn.
Motion.
Councillor Mills.
Motion.
Councillor Rome.
Motion.
Councillor Short.
The motion, please.
Councillor Smith.
Motion.
Councillor Toland. Councillor Toland.
Councillor Toland's left the meeting.
Thank you. Bailey Keenan.
Amendment.
Councillor Cruikshank.
Amendment, sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Finnegan.
Amendment.
Councillor McKerven.
Amendment.
Councillor Scullin.
The amendment.
Bailey Wright.
Amendment.
Bailey McPherson.
The amendment.
Councillor Coleman.
The amendment.
Councillor Crichton.
The amendment.
Councillor Duncan.
Amendment.
Bailey Roberts.
Amendment.
Bailey Scott.
Amendment.
Okay, that's 13 for the motion and 12 for the amendment. The motion's carried.
That's all the business. Thank you for your attendance.